Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Sarah Ivanhoe, and I'm the yoga director here for the University of Southern California. And we are really excited tonight to have one of my dear friends and esteemed colleagues, Gopi Kallayil, here. This is a series that we started last semester called Optimize Your Life. And it sort of came to be by my speaking with Gopi and his cohorts and friends at Google at the yoga program. And I'm going to have him tell you guys, I'll let him tell the story about the yoga program at Google. It's an incredibly special program. And I was so moved and motivated by how this whole program came to be that I invited Gopi and some of his friends from Google to come and speak with us last semester. This semester has been super challenging for all of us. We've been in a global pandemic. We've had now a year of, 10-hour days with Zoom meetings back to back to back, with Google Hangouts back to back to back. And a lot of us have really been experiencing incredible burnout and fatigue. So we just decided to do one small intimate event this semester just to bring Gopi back and to talk to us a little bit about how we can sort of survive and thrive during these pandemic and post-pandemic times. So let me just tell you a little bit about my friend Gopi. You can see him here. Gopi, can you give a wave real quick? Looking good, kid. And I'm going to give a little introduction background on Gopi, and then I'm going to just knock it over to you, and I'll allow you to take it away. Gopi, is it okay if I do like an official brag about you for a moment and read your bio while you humor me?
Tell them the truth.
Yeah. Okay, here I go. I'm gonna go ahead and read the official one here, and then maybe then maybe a couple of fun things. So, Gopi Kallayil is the Chief Evangelist, Digital Transformation and Strategy at Google. He works with Google's largest customers and the sales team to help transform the customer's business around the consumer experience with digital as a primary driver. In his prior role as Chief Evangelist Brand Marketing, he helped grow customer brands through digital marketing. Earlier, he led the marketing team for the company's flagship advertising product, AdWords, both the Americas and Asia Pacific, and headed the marketing team for AdSense, Google's publisher-facing product. Wow, okay, we've got more guys who just hang with me. Before joining Google, Gopi was the management team of two Silicon Valley venture-funded startups. While a consultant with McKinsey Company, he worked on engagements helping management teams of large corporations improve business performance and maximize revenues. He has also led large information technology projects for global corporations in India, China, and the United States. Gopi earned his bachelor's degree in electronics engineering from the National Institute of Technology, India. He received 2 master's degrees in business administration, one from the Indian Institute of Management and another from the infamous Wharton School of Business at the University of Pennsylvania. In addition to being an avid yoga practitioner and teacher, Gopi is a triathlete, a public speaker, a global traveler, and Burning Man devotee. He's spoken at TEDx, the World Happiness Summit, Wisdom 2.0, the author of 2 books, The Happy Human and The Internet to the Internet, published by Hay House. He's released 2 music albums titled Kirtan Lounge. Gopi holds a guest faculty position at Stanford University Graduate School of Business. He is board advisor to venture-funded early-stage companies, Jiffy AI, TaskHuman, Plato, and Good Trust. He also happens to share the same guru as myself. So he is what we call my guru Bai, my brother, my friend on the devotional path, and is an amazing yoga teacher on the platform Glow. Gopi, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us this evening. Please take it away. And before you do, I did check in on the polling facilities, and we are not technically advanced enough to do it for you tonight, but we can poll the old-fashioned way with hands.
No problem. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for welcoming me for second time back to the USC program. And I'm so delighted to see so many of my friends on the call as well. Tucker, welcome. I see Amalia. Thank you for joining late in the evening. Stephanie Grubbs, so delighted to see you. So thank you for all of these amazing friends for joining and supporting me. For the USC students, faculty, administration on the call, thank you for being here. But I can't see most of you. Vanessa, I can see you. The rest of you, optional, but feel free to turn your cameras on. I know at the end of the day, there's a lot of fatigue, but if it's an option available to you, do so. Then it'll be nice to see you and interact with you occasionally. But it totally by choice, or come in occasionally, then turn it off. And this way I have some sense of human connection, the barest minimum that is now possible in a time like this. But I'll take all of it. Wonderful. We are in the midst of this unusual time in this pandemic. Interesting word. 2 years ago, most people did not have this word in their lexicon. They couldn't even have explained it. It became a word after the UN declared a pandemic last April, but 2 years ago it did not. Today, Tucker, Amalia, and I can tell you, it is the most searched word on Google. And Google is sort of a reflection of human consciousness. Pandemic, coronavirus, COVID are the most searched terms on Google. And it's and Google in many ways is an amalgamation of what is on the collective hive mind of the planet. It is interesting. And the interesting thing about the pandemic, when I reflected on it, was that it is the first time in human history the entire planet has faced the exact same challenge or crises. We've had many things in the past, like wars and depressions and big natural upheavals. But when that happens, usually it happens in one part of the world, and another part of the world looks on in horror. But this is the first time every patch of humanity has been affected by the exact same problem. It is a universal crisis. That's the interesting thing about it. But what's also interesting to me is observe it. We are all in the same storm, but we are in different boats. We're all in the same storm, but we're in different boats. Depending on where you live, depending on your particular family circumstances, depending on whether you work for an e-commerce company or an airline company, your job situation might be vastly different. Depending on how your leaders are dealing with it, responding to it, what resources you have access to it within the same community, your fortunes could have diverged completely, depending on a variety of things ranging from ethnicity to what access you have. So we're all in different, we are in the same storm, but we are in different boats. All of this has caused a tremendous amount of stress, and that has affected everyone. We're a little fearful. Our family members have been affected. There's a lot of question marks in our life. But our response to stress can also be different. And I told Sarah I would be curious among this group as to how people have responded. So I was going to do a poll, but why don't we do chat? I kept my chat box open. So you can simply type into the chat box. We're going to poll you on a scale of 1 to 5. And the question being, Sarah, you want to read out the question? Or I can just do it out.
I don't see it. Yeah, you go ahead and read it.
Over the last 6 months, how would you rate your overall physical and mental well-being? Was the question. Over the last 6 months, yeah, I'll tell you the scale. On a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being it is very good, I'm at peace. 1 being no, it's bad, I'm stressed. 3 is sort of in between, neither stress nor 1 to 5. So 5 being my physical and mental well-being last week is top notch. I'm at peace, not stressed at all. 1, I'm very stressed, I'm not feeling good. I may even need some help. So just kind of type 4, 2, 5, 3, 2, 4, 3, all over the map. Lots of 2s and 3s in between. Okay, couple of people 4, which is good. Amin and Vanessa. Again, this is not a competition. There's nothing embarrassing. This is how we feel, right? So this is universal, and at Google we paid a lot of attention to it, and we realized it is important to teach Googlers an active participation of resilience. And therefore, we even have a chief resilience officer, believe it or not, Lauren, which she has a PhD in resilience. And this company is so thoughtful about employee and health and well-being. We found a chief resilience officer, somebody who has expertise in the topic of resilience. And I'm going to teach you in the first few minutes a few of the things, or talk to you about a few of the things that I've learned from what Lauren has said. So what is resilience? And the way Lauren explained it to me or to a lot of the Googlers is resilience is your ability to react, respond, and recover from stress. Now, stress, there's nothing wrong with it. It is a part of our life. There's no life for anyone without any stress. Or in this case, when suddenly this thing you don't control called a pandemic hits you, you cannot be not stressed about it. But resilience is your ability to recover from stress. And think of this as like a rubber band. So you stretch a rubber band and it can stretch. It has got elasticity, it's got resilience, it stretches. But if you stretch it beyond a certain point, it snaps, right? It's taken. But before that, if you release it, the rubber band goes back, it regains back its ability to stretch, and then again you stretch. So resilience is our ability to occasionally get stretched and then come back to a normal shape. And how do you teach people this skill? How do you build this into your life is something I wanted to explore over the next few minutes or so. And we will do this. Mostly I will talk to you, but I also want your responses, reaction, and occasionally I'll ask questions. And I don't mind some interaction. So if you want to speak or talk back to me or leave a comment, feel free to type something into the chat. Or just turn on your microphone and say, I have a question. And Sarah will monitor the chat and get my attention if I don't see it. And is there a hand raising feature in Zoom? We are less familiar with Zoom. My apologies. We rarely use it. Okay, raise your hand if there is a hand raising feature. You Zoom. Stephanie says yes. Stephanie, raise your hand. Oh, Tucker is raising his physical hand. I know he's a Googler. Tucker, apparently there is a software feature somewhere in Zoom that allows you to raise your hand. Close. All right. So Stephanie will show us how to raise her hand. I don't see Stephanie's hand, but Sarah, you can monitor all that. So raise your hand, or turn your microphone old-fashioned way. You could wave, but I don't know. I can't see everyone. I only see 4 or 5 faces, so I may not see. Oh, gallery view. Now I see more people. Good. About 6 or so. So please do engage in a conversation. In fact, just to have a little fun with it, let me ask Anna Karina. Yeah, any comments, thoughts in the beginning as I get on this topic of resilience and well-being?
No, just this is beautiful.
Good, thank you. So there are 3 core principles we teach at Google to Googlers as part of the resilience program that I want to share with you. The first is that resilience, often people think when you're in a tough situation, you have to grind it out, I have to fight, I have to push through it, I have to be tough. This is the norm that we have built on. We got to toughen it up and then we have these commonly held sayings like, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And especially in the very, very survival mentality that's been built in, or the notion of we moved west and we are adventurers, all the things that are built into popular culture in this country, being tough and fighting it out, rugged individualism is considered the way to deal with problem. But what our research shows that, and we have studied, much of it comes from people who are under extreme stress all the time. These could be people like Navy SEALs or champion athletes, etc., who deal with a lot of stress. What we've learned from them and the research is that resilience comes from prioritizing rest and recovery. It's about rest and recovery. Okay? And you have to deliberately build this in. And it's less about grit and determination. It's more about actively, consciously building in rest and recovery. That should be one of your number one priority. In your day, in your calendar, if you can't see deliberate places for rest and recovery, then your resilience strategy will fail. So here's an example. Matt Britton is the president of Google Europe, and he has a strategy he calls green time on his calendar. On Google Calendar, Gmail Calendar, you can actually color code. If you didn't know it, you can change the color of your appointments. So his green time is actually marked green. Why is it marked green? Because he steps into the green during that time. He goes outside, goes outdoors, he's surrounded by nature, So every day, deliberately, I mean, he's the president of Google Europe. He's got a very big job. He could be booked back to back. But no, he says daily he has a green time when he'll put on his shoes, walk out of the door, no electronics, walk through nature, be in trees, and just have some time to breathe, enjoy the sun, look at birds, and reflect. So he has rest and recovery actively built in, and so is something for you all to think about. For me, for example, every day at noon, I stop work. There are no meetings. What do I do at noon? No, I don't eat lunch. I do it later. But I meditate with the Google meditation group. There's a noon meditation group in every time zone, by the way. It happens in America. It happens in the East because it's a global company. So noon Japan time, there's a group meditating there. Noon Zurich time, there's a group that goes into meditation there. So I joined the noon Pacific time group and meditate at noon. That's one of my recovery strategies on a daily basis, very middle of the day. The second resilience principle I want you to think about is resilience is by design, not by default. It's by design, not by default. Meaning it's not going to automatically happen. Or you can't say like, oh, when I get a chance, I'll go to exercise. You have to think very actively, and I'll teach you some strategies about that. So the analogy the technique that we learned is how baseball players approach it. So a baseball player steps into the batter's box. When they step into the batter box, they have one single point of attention. What is the point of attention? The pitcher and the ball, right? It doesn't matter what's happening in the stands. People are cheering. They're standing in there with the bat, and the full attention is on the pitcher and the ball. And they put all the energy into it. And when that pitch is tossed, they might hit it, they might miss it, it might be a foul ball. What do? They step outside the batter box and they swing, and they have certain routines that they do. They're grounding themselves. That is sort of their time to breathe, take a break, gather the energy and the focus. And that time they relax. And then they come back and again get back into that physical pose and then full concentration. So the same approach by design, what we are trained to do is there are days when there are peak, your time is demanded in a peak state. For me, it's been a 12-hour day. I started at 7 o'clock in the morning when I was presenting to a group in Amsterdam, and here I'll be presenting now from 6 to 7 at the end of a 12-hour workday. But those two blocks are marked red in calendar. That's when my energy has to be in a peak state. In between, half an hour, 10 minutes before this, what was I doing? Sarah knows. What was I doing, Sarah?
You put me on speakerphone while you did sun salutes.
I was doing some yoga quickly.
We're checking in about the meeting, and Gopi, you could hear him be upside down and down.
And then at 4 o'clock, just before I spoke to my assistant at 4:30 to discuss a few things about an upcoming presentation, I was in bed. I was sleeping. I snuck in 20 minutes nap time. Right? So this is a very, very actively thought out strategy saying this day is going to be long. I need a break. So actually turned off the heat, put up my blankets, and went to take a 20-minute nap. Got up, then did my meeting, then did a little bit of yoga, and now this meeting. So it's designed. My day is designed around when I know my energy has to be in a peak state. And that's what I mean by it's by design, not by default. You have to very deliberately do it. Third principle of resilience that we ask Googlers to practice is this concept. It is dynamic, not stagnant. It is dynamic, not stagnant. What I mean by that is you can't come up with one formula and then put on autopilot for the rest of the month or year, because circumstances change on a daily basis. There is the only thing we can be confident about is there is a groundlessness of our life every day, every week. So today, for example, I didn't sleep much last night. I was a bit restless, and therefore my mental state is different from how it was yesterday. And therefore, I have to be a little more dynamic in my strategies. I took some things off my plate. My focus was not fully on. And I have a strategy to go to bed much earlier than normal tonight. So tomorrow I try to recover, right? So that's what I mean, but it's dynamic, not stagnant. And as the day changes, you can have your ups and downs. And one of the things we are told to do is to hunt for the good. No matter how rough a day it is, there is something good about every day. So hunt for the good in the most difficult of days. And that way you keep it dynamic, not stagnant, and your mind, your mental energy shifts to what is functioning in your life as opposed to what is flailing. So those are the three core principles of resilience that is taught as part of the Google Resilience program. And much of this wisdom, these three principles, comes from talking to a lot of athletes, Olympians, people who train Olympians. And in fact, on Thursday, we have a big global event. It's a huge resilience day. There are almost 6 top-notch practitioners of resilience drawn from the world of elite sports who will be presenting to Googlers. It's around the clock. I think they're speaking 5 times in every time zone. So I'm really looking forward to it and learning a lot from that. Before transitioning to what I want to talk about in the next stage of my presentation, I wanted to just pause and ask if anybody had any questions, comments, thoughts, so that we can have a little conversation. And I may just even call on some people, if you don't mind. After all, this is a university, so I can be a little professorial and call on some people.
Hi.
Oh, Sarah. Vanessa. Okay, Sarah. Okay, Vanessa, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, there was one question asking if you could show the first card again for your 3 cards. I think I missed that one too. But I think I don't know if I had a question, but just a thought in regards to, I appreciate your saying how it's dynamic and not static, because I have a very sort of static approach to my schedule. And I may necessarily have certain things that I know work for me, but it's true that it doesn't always work. And so I just appreciate this reminder that I have to be dynamic in my approach to my own mental health as well during a very difficult work day. So that's all that really sort of resonated with me.
Yeah, so exactly. And okay, I'll show you the first card first. In fact, somebody else who did take down first card, what did I write in the first card? Maybe Amalia knows. You were writing notes seriously. No? Someone should know.
The prioritizing rest and recovery?
That was the first card, exactly. Prioritize rest and recovery, meaning it's not about pushing through and grit. Yeah, Amalia, your notes are always impeccable, so I know you would have had it.
Well, you always say good stuff that I want to implement, so.
Yeah. So you prioritize rest and recovery over and above pushing through and fighting with grit and determination. Because if you prioritize rest and recovery, the other part, the work will get done much better and more easier. What we do is we focus on trying to work hard and get things done, and then saying somewhere in between, I'll try to get a little break, I'll go and try to eat healthy, etc. No, you got to prioritize, make that your number one. So when I said that is a good point about the dynamic thing. So normally at 3:30 on a Tuesday, most days, weekdays, I stop and do my exercise, and I do interval training. And today it just could not get to it. Things fell apart, and like I said, I was not in the best performing peak state today. So I have to change my strategy. I haven't exercised much. After this talk is over, after dinner is over, I am going to go for a walk around the lake I live on. So by then the sun might have gone down, but I'm going to get my 45 minutes walk in, and it's a less intense form of exercise, but it's something, right? I had to be dynamic, and I had to adjust and adapt. Now, after I come back, then I'm going to sit for maybe 10 minutes of meditation after that. So you are constantly, but it is a huge priority. And I'll tell you in a minute about this prioritization technique that has worked well for me. But before that, I have to tell you a story. I can speak about all of this, but to all of us, things can fail in spectacular fashion. So in 2008, this happened to me. October 4th was going to be one of the best days in my life. And on that day, my new book, The Happy Human, this one was coming out. So as a publisher, one of the big things is to be on like national TV. And I was going to be interviewed by ABC7, the local affiliate in San Francisco. At 4 p.m., they asked me to come to the studio, October 4, 2018. And at 4 p.m., I chose not to go into the TV studio. Instead, where was I? I chose to be on a stretcher in the emergency room of Stanford Hospital, rapidly losing consciousness with an IV going down my arm. And you might say, Gopi, what happened? Well, what happened was the happy human was suddenly a very unhappy human, and the soon-to-be famous author had become an infamous author. So I said I chose to be in the emergency room. Nobody actually makes those deliberate choices. But what I mean by that is I had made some lifestyle choices leading up to it that led my body to completely collapse. And this is the danger of it all. We can get carried away. It was like a humbling reminder. I mean, you can know all these things in theory. Even in the book, I talked about it. But leading up to that, for the 12-week period, prior to that day, I'd been to 9 cities in 4 countries, and not just doing regular things. I did pretty intense things. I had my full-time job at Google, which can be demanding in all sense of the word, as Amelia and Tucker can confirm. I'd gone to Los Angeles to record for Sarah the Yoga Glow videos at glow.com. I'd launched my new book, and I was getting ready for my publishing tour. I produced a Kirtan music festival. I'd competed in the World Championship of public speaking during that period and finished top 20 in the world, but that didn't come easy. And if all of this was not enough, I had gone and actively participated in Burning Man. Now, that alone is enough to wipe you out for 2 weeks. But there is this notion we have that achievement, doing more things, checking things off the box, this is what makes us happy. This is what makes us successful. We need to keep pushing. We need to keep going. Somehow we have this notion in our culture that adding on more things to do is what our life is all about. And there's no limit to it. And just we keep piling on. And nobody's asking us to do any of these things. It's our own self-declared sense of importance and drive. I don't mean to say don't have ambition, etc. But it has to be in the confines of making sure you're leading a healthy, balanced life. But it's very easy to let that sense of balance go in our modern life where we're driven by accomplishment and we confuse more things to checking off on a list as a sense of success and importance and the fact that we think that'll get us love and adoration from others. Whatever it is, psychotic thing that gets into our head drives us. But nature is unforgiving in this kind of circumstances. It's actually compassionate. You push your body beyond the limits, the body shuts down so that it forces you to take rest and recovery. And I said resilience, you have to prioritize rest and recovery. If you don't do it yourself, nature will do it for you. Nature was doing that. And the amazing thing is, there is this way said, it is not a tragedy. It is actually Mother Nature being compassionate. I know some of your mothers, I know Amalia is a mother. If you're a mother, or a parent, actually, mother or father, when your kid doesn't do the thing it has to do, which is good for it, eat more broccoli, not ice cream or cookies, or go to bed early and go to bed and sleep well. So what do you do to get the child's attention? You confiscate its favorite toy. And that's where you get the child's attention. And then, of course, he'll say, now talk to me, do these things, then you'll get your toy back. Nature did the same thing to me. As a result of this problem, I started hiccuping badly, constantly, and I couldn't complete a sentence without hiccuping. I couldn't speak. I had to get off stage. I canceled 16 speaking appointments. My life as a professional speaker was shut down. I couldn't, and there's no more need to travel. I had to be in bed and sleep most of the time, and rest is what made me recover. The deep rest is what really made me recover from it. So that thing made me realize a simple thing about what is truly important in my life. And I'm going to ask you this question. In the way you view your life, again, go into the chat and type, what is the most important resource or asset in your life? I'm just curious what this group thinks. Hey, Troy, nice to see you. Trey, right? Thank you. Welcome. Just type into the chat. I'm going to open chat again. What is the most important resource? Family. That's right. Somebody wrote, when you get sick, your body's taking a protest. Stephanie said family. What is your most important resource or asset? We often think of like it's a house or money or job, the body. Tucker to everyone. Yeah, very good, Tucker. Let me see what else people think. Anna Karima, myself. Yeah. Vanessa, yeah, body, good sleep, right? So all of you think about the right way, and I fully agree with you. 3 new messages. Let me see who else says. Trey said, friends, family, yourself. Laura, my son, and my husband. And Laura, I would also say myself. I would add to it. So I think of it as the most important resource before you think of anyone else, family, all that is important, are 5 things that really define you. 1, 2, 3, or 6 things actually. And the 6 things are, in my reckoning, especially that illness made me realize. First is my body as an important asset through which I experience life. Then your brain, your cognitive ability. Third is your breath, which drives your life force. Fourth is your energy. If you have good energy, you're high performing. If you don't have good energy, no matter how the rest of your life is, it doesn't matter. You're dragging through life. Fourth is your thoughts that determine so much of how you experience happiness or sadness. And fifth is your emotions, how you react to things around you. These 6 things pretty much is the sum totality of who you are as Trey, an individual, or who you are as Anna, the person, or who you are as Marnia, the human. And collectively, the word I came up with it, I call it the inner net. Now we talk so much about the internet. I call it our inner net, our body, our brain, our breath, our thoughts, our emotions. Now, I say this is the most important asset before anything else comes into play. Your money, your job, your education, even your family members, etc. Because unless this container is fully functioning, you can't show up for your family in 100% way. And there's a logical reason for that. And I want you to, if at all, one principle you understand today, I want you to come to terms with this principle. And that is the fact that all of your life experience, every single thing, is being filtered by your internet. Your internet, this mind, body, brain combination that I talked about, every experience in life has to be filtered by your internet. So here's an example. Tucker is having his evening dinner, and in the next hour or so, I hope it's delicious, Tucker. His body's processing it. It is converting into energy and becoming pieces of his brain. And Laura is listening to my question and responding, and she's typing it in chat. And right now she said, "All right, me too." Yeah. So that question has made some sense to her. It went into a ear. It created some new cognitive response in her brain, and then she's responding. So her life experience, all of her life experience, whether it's music you listen to, a book you read, is being filtered by this container we call ourself. There is no life experience outside of this container. This is making sense? Give me a thumbs up if you say, yeah, that makes logical sense. The second core principle that I want you to always think about and remember is this, that we all want to show up in life and express ourselves through whatever form. The expression may come in the form of being a great mother, or Laura being a great mother and wife. For Amalia, it might be working in wellness. Tucker is deals in marketing at Google. For someone else, it might be writing a great business plan. You might be a musician. And Sarah, it's like teaching and learning and teaching ancient philosophy, including the Sanskrit language. All of this is a form of self-expression. Every self-expression of ours, from music to art, to cooking of food, to taking care of your families, to loving someone, also comes from your internet. There is no self-expression as a human outside of your internet. Whether you make something with your hands, or whether you create voice with your mouth and speak or sing, or whether you think deeply and write the next great theory of modern physics, it has to come from this container. So all of our life experience is being filtered by the internet. All of our life expression comes from our internet. Is it making sense? Is it logical? Good. And all of you are nodding. And therefore, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of how you take care of this internet. If you put this container, your body, your brain, your breath, your thoughts, your emotions into a peak state, You experience life at a peak state, you express yourself at a peak state. And this is probably the most fundamental and simplest way of thinking about your life holistically. And it's very logical. So how do you do it? How do you put your life into this high-performing peak state? Fortunately, we don't know how to figure this out. Somebody else has solved the problem for us. And they left the operating manual for us. The user manual is available. And the user manual is sitting in ancient wisdom traditions. This is the beauty of it. All these traditions, and you can pick many. There's not one. And Sarah, me, and Amalia, we share, and Stephanie too, we share some of these practices that come from India, but that's not the only one. Every culture has figured this out, how to put your state into an optimum state. And out of that, I've adopted a simple formula that I wanted to tell you. So the next 10 minutes or so, I'll talk about how to put your internet into a peak state. Okay, this is the main thing I want you to leave you with. And the formula I've adopted, I've thought about this and put an acronym together that works very well for me. On a daily basis, I give myself medals. I give myself medals. What does that mean? Medals has the same word. When you run a half marathon or something and you get to the finish line, they give you a medal. Or if you win an Olympics 100 meters race, they give you medals. So on a daily basis, I give myself medals. In fact, I even keep a physical medal. Right now, it's in the room behind me. I don't want to run out and get it. Otherwise, I want to show it to you. It's a physical reminder when I see that medal of giving myself medals every day. And this is my formula. Giving myself medals every day is my formula for keeping my whole container in a peak state. So what do I mean by medals? Each alphabet there means something. So if you have a piece of paper or your phone, you can grab it and write it down, and then I'll deconstruct each one for you. My medals formula stands this way. M is for meditation. E is for exercise. D is for diet, which means nutrition, really, not dieting. That word is sometimes misused. D is what you put into your body. A is for appreciation, or can call it gratitude. L is for learning. And S stands for two things, sleep and social connections. This is my daily formula. I have to do all of this every day in order to feel complete and whole. So let's take each one demystified for you. And we might even, Sarah said she would like a bit of practice, so maybe I'll just bring that element in. So M is for meditation. And some of you might be active meditators. And for some people, this might be terrifying word. It seems so big. And what is this? And when you watch some people sit for like a half an hour, eyes closed, sitting and still, it seems like a complete waste of time, or it can even be a little frightening and threatening and baffling. But at the bare minimum, I'm talking of giving yourself some sort of spaciousness in your life when you don't have too much external stimulation and you're allowed to drop into yourself. That is just you, your breath, your thoughts, your feelings, and just being grounded and being present to it. There are many advanced techniques like mantra-based meditation and vipassana and all that. If you have studied one of those and you've actively practiced it, well and good. But if you don't beat yourself over it. Just start with, can you sit quietly for 1 minute, doing nothing, and being very present and grounded with just three things: your breath, your thinking process, whatever comes up, and your emotions. This is hard for many people. Sitting for 5 minutes is impossible. We fidget, we get restless, we become noticed. And you have to wonder, the simplest of things, doing nothing, sitting quietly, should be the easiest thing, and we are incapable of doing it. That's how wired up we are in a modern society. And as the French mathematician Louis Pascal said, all of man's problems stem from his or her inability to sit quietly in a room and do nothing. If you were simply capable of that, I think a lot of our problem would have been solved. But in our restlessness, we get up, we do things, and sometimes we go a little crazy, and violence expresses ourselves in our life. So start with that simplest of practices, and I'm going to tell you, if you don't have a meditation practice, then commit yourself to doing just 1 minute a day. And then you can get up to 2 and 5 and 15 and 30. But can you sit on a daily basis for 1 minute and give yourself a little spaciousness? How many minutes are there in a day? Someone knows the answer, type into the chat. We should know this most important resource called time. Vanessa's like, where's my calculator? Well, Vanessa, it should be at our fingertips because money is infinite. Time is a limited resource. So we should know exactly how many minutes are a day. It's 1,440. And hence the name of the institute in San Francisco called 1440. Yeah, 1,440. And thank you, Anna Curry. So off that, can you commit 1 minute? So let's do it right now. And Sarah, you got a timer? Will you call a minute once you start? Yeah, just set it to 60 seconds. So wherever you are, sitting, standing, just close your eyes. Sarah will time and let us know when 60 seconds are up. Relax your shoulders. Free your hands, place it on your knees, thighs, or lap. Place your feet firmly on the ground. Physically relax as best as possible. Notice your breathing, and wherever your breath is, just make it a little longer and slower. Elongate your breath. Inhale and exhale. Maybe even count next time. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. And exhale, 2, 3, 4. Continue that slow, steady breathing. And your thoughts may be all over the place. But that's okay. You just notice the thoughts, sort of like sitting in a cafe and you notice people passing by, they come by, and then they leave your field of vision. Same way your thoughts come in. They do a little dance in your mind. And they get replaced by other thoughts. You just notice it without any judgment. Continue that slow, relaxed breathing. You'll notice that your mind might be restless, it wanders off. And when you notice it's pretty much run away from this situation from your body, gently bring it back. And an anchor you can give it is just come back to your breath. Notice your breath again and do that count. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. And exhale, 2, 3, 4. And now slowly open your eyes and come back. How long did we sit, Sarah?
About 1 minute and 45 seconds.
Okay, almost 2 minutes. And you thought you could sit still for 1 minute. It was not that hard. But we meditated. So congratulations, you already did the M part of it. E is some exercise, is any form of exercise. Our body likes movement. Our body thrives on movement because when you move your body, incredible things happen. It's not just muscles build or you feel good, but your organs function better. Your blood flows better. You intake more oxygen. Your blood has got a higher oxygen content in it, oxygen ratio. And now when the blood goes to different parts of the body, to your heart, to your brain especially, it's carrying more oxygen. Your brain works better. Your kidneys work better. You move your body. If you've eaten food, the food gets digested better. The food is broken down better. So almost every body system, from your nervous system to circulatory system to your respiratory system, which becomes stronger, lung capacity, etc. Exercise is so fundamental that we just should not be ignoring it. And yet it's one of those things easy to let go. So the second part of metals is to move your body in some form. And for many of us here in this group, like I mentioned, Sarah, myself, Amalia, and Stephanie, yoga is a big part of that practice. It doesn't have to be the only one. It just happens to be an incredibly juicy and wonderful form of getting movement into your body. But it could be walking, which is very healthy, safe, and equally accessible, biking, swimming, but in some form, hiking, move your body every day. This is particularly significant in the current time because when we were pre-pandemic, normal functional walking got us quite a bit of steps in. Like when I was going to work at Google, a normal day I would get 6, 7. By the end of the day, I would look at my watch, it's 7,000 steps right there. Now, I'd be lucky if I get 300 or 400. And unless I deliberately put on my shoes and walked out of the door. So imagine how sedentary we have become. We sit in our chair and stare at the screen. Raise your hand of those at least I can see if you felt on some days like that. I've sat in my chair inside this house, barely left the house, and I walked 200 or 300 steps. Yeah, this is dangerous. This is extremely dangerous. This is, and we're doing tremendous damage to our body. So you have to, whatever was your exercise strategy that normal times, you might have to double it now just to get the bare threshold. This is bad news. So see a fun way of building exercise in. And what I've started doing now is every hour and a half or so, I go out of the door and walk for 5 minutes up, 5 minutes down, then come back and sit at my desk. Because you need to break that up. I also do standing. Right now I'm standing. If you simply stand and work, stand and do your meetings, so much better. Or instead of video calls, take voice calls and walk inside the house or walk outside the door and do walking meetings. So in whatever form, and use some app that counts steps. Argus is one I use. Google Fit works very well, but there are Fitbit, so many out there. Just look at the number of steps and put some target saying every day I'm going to get 10,000 steps. But that seems very daunting. So I would say start with something minimal like 1,000 and write it down and increase every day by 200. And the next day by another 200. And slowly clock it up. After that, it becomes like just part of your lifestyle. And you start building it in. And now I do things like instead of going to the grocery store or by taking a car, I just walk because I want to get more steps in. So you'll find ways by which. What are some ideas by which somebody said, Stephanie, it resulted in COVID as in extra pounds last year. I heard it's called the quarantine 15. Okay. Very quickly type into chat or come off the microphone and tell me your favorite strategy of getting the E part in these days, the exercise thing, so that you're not missing out, at least on some days of the week. Vanessa, bikes. How long do you bike, Vanessa, when you go out?
About half an hour.
Okay, good. All right. Anyone else? Nobody else does anything? Oh, it's 2 more messages. It's not scrolling up. Amalia, dog walk. That's a great one, right? Your dog does not recognize the pandemic. It says time to go for a walk. Having a dog is a great way. It forces you to get out there. Anna Karina, Peloton. Yeah. Walk with my kid. That's great. If you have kids, then they force you also to get out. So word on Peloton and treadmills. Again, no judgment against it. I know it's very popular. But personally, I have opted for, when I'm exercising, no electronics, because all day I'm with so much electronics. I don't want to be staring at another screen. So I much rather get on my regular bike and go outdoors. And I don't plug in headsets. I'm not listening to podcasts. I want to feel the wind. I want to feel birds, twitters. I want to hear the bird. And I want to feel the sunshine on my skin and all that. It makes a big difference. So I would encourage you to, as much as possible, especially because most of you live in California, to combine it with, and now no matter where you live, now that we're getting into spring and summer, getting outdoors, there's a lot of other healing properties around it. being in sunshine and nature. So if you can build some amount of outdoor time, then that's fantastic. Somebody had a comment. Somebody came off mute. Did you want to talk? No? Was it you, Sarah? No. Cool. Okay, so M is for E is for exercise. What is D? Somebody want to shout back at me or explain?
Diet.
Diet, yeah, as in nutrition. So here,
Nutrition.
yeah, the simple formula says eat. Again, my own personal preference. Diet is a very complex thing, so I'm not going to say too much on it because there's so many opinions on it of what is right and what is wrong. The one I recommend if someone asks me for it is eat things that grow on a plant, not made in a plant. Rule number one, very simply. Eat things that grow on a plant, not made in a plant. Meaning, if it came from a plant, tree, or shrub, it generally, the research shows it is healthy for your body. If it went into a factory building and humans touched it and transformed it, the more dangerous it becomes, the less healthy it becomes to you. So any food that gets transformed, processed, seems not too great for the body. Increasingly evidence shows. Whereas if it came straight out of plant, then of course there's all this question of should I eat meat and dairy and all that. I'm not going to get into it. It's a follow a simple rule: eat things that grow on a plant, not made in a plant, and you can't go wrong. And then feel free to eat whatever else your dietary preference is, but follow the simple rule in every meal. The second one, it says make water your beverage of choice. More than any other beverage, just make straight water, and then feel free to drink anything else. I'm not going to comment on that because, again, we'll get into controversy. How much water should you drink? Here's a simple formula. This is sort of like the standard water bottle. It's 24 ounces, and you'll find this anywhere. Drink 3 of this for most people around. It might be a little more. There is a rule by which you come, but 3 of these gives you 75 ounces. It's half your body weight in ounces. That's a simple rule. So if you weigh 150 pounds, you should be drinking 75 pounds. Half your body weight in ounces, half your body weight in pounds. So if you drink this 3 times, I think for most everyone, you'll be reasonably well hydrated. For some, maybe a little less. Some maybe 1 more, a 4th time you may need to drink. And the third rule around diet says, eat things that plant-based whole foods is good, drink a lot of water, and eat with an attitude of gratitude. Because every time you eat, remember that 100 people were responsible for that one meal sitting in front of you. Right? The farmer who grew it, people working in jobs much harder than you are, getting paid a lot less, and people you'll never get to see and say thank you. When I was growing up in a small village in India, my grandparents grew every single item we ate. From the rice to the coconut to the bananas, my grandmother, grandfather, they grew it, everything. They could survive. I am so useless at this, and my nephews and nieces are even worse, that we couldn't last 3 days if somebody else didn't grow the food and bring it to us and cut it up and put it on a plate for us. So every day, somebody else is working hard to sustain us. And nature is so prolific. So eat with an attitude of gratitude. We got just always do this, Sarah, right? We keep running out of time. I get so into it. Okay, what time are we at?
We're supposed to have 3 minutes.
I'll finish in 3 minutes. Okay. A is for appreciation in metals, and that the formula there is where did my sheets go? Okay. So A is for appreciation, and the idea, or gratitude being the other word. Each day, think of 10 things you're grateful for. Live with an attitude of gratitude. Again, what it does, it psychologically shift your brain from getting anxious about problems, real or imaginary, to the things that are high functioning and working in your life. And everyone, every day, no matter what the situation is, has got things that are going well for the life. Right, very quickly, into the chat box. What is one thing you appreciate in your life today? It's a quick appreciation exercise. Time with family from Amalia. Laura appreciates her health. Stephanie, health. Beautiful. Clara Levy, my daughters and my granddaughters. How old are your granddaughters, Clara? Trace Spellman, my health. Being safe and loud. See, exactly. So think of 10 things. And after this meeting, just think, I actually write it down. There's something powerful about actually writing it down and just shifting your mind. The fifth thing is learning, L for learning. So just like you need exercise for the body, your brain needs things to be in a powerful state. So you constantly want to learn. One of the things I'm studying now, which Sarah's already studied, and I'm far behind, is the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. It's written 600 years ago. It's in dense Sanskrit. I'm also studying North Indian classical music, sargam music on the harmonium. And all this is a new language for me. It's very different from my work. It's not going to make me rich or famous, but I don't care. It's like pushing my brain and my body to have a hand-eye coordination in a completely different domain. And so find something complex and new to learn and becomes like exercise for the brain. It could be nuclear physics. It could be cooking food from another culture. So constantly be in a learning mode and be registered for course. And today, thanks to the internet, with resources like YouTube, you don't even have to pay for it. There are so many resources. You could be studying a language, or you could be studying a musical instrument, or you could be studying a craft, making beer or sewing clothes, all for free on just YouTube videos. And the fifth one I mentioned is sleep and social connections. The second one is pretty obvious. The first one I'll speak. I'm the biggest hypocrite, so I break my own rules all the time, but I'll still tell you the theory that I've learned by listening to multiple sleep experts who've spoken to Google. Most people need 7 to 9 hours, 7 to 9 hours to really be refreshed. And ideally, quite a few of those hours should
According
be.
to Sleep Foundation, National Sleep Foundation guidelines advise that healthy adults need between 7 and 9 hours of sleep per night.
On its own, there's
Babies, young children, and teens need even more sleep to enable their growth and development. People over 65 should also get 7 to 8 hours per night.
Well, my job is done. This is why we have Google. And so it misfires. It's got a mind of its own. Okay, so there is the truth. I don't need to speak anymore. So, but several of those hours should come before midnight to be really fully rested. Again, a rule I don't follow, so I'm a bit hypocritical about it. I will admit to it. So with that, the medals formula is up. Our time is up. I was going to make you do a little bit of yoga, but I don't want to keep you past the time. So once again, very quickly, you can turn on your microphone so I can hear your voices. Let's make sure we anchor in the medals formula. M is for, tell me back.
Meditation.
Meditation.
Good. E for?
Exercise.
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 Thank you. D is for?
Diet.
Diet. Nutrition.
Yeah, diet, think of nutrition. A is for?
Appreciation.
Appreciation.
As a synonym for gratitude. L is for?
Learning.
Learning.
Something new and complex. And S is for? Two things.
Sleep and social
Sleep
connections.
and social connection.
There you have it. So you have the very simple 6-step formula for putting your inner resources, your inner net, into a state of peak performance so that you experience life at a peak state, you express yourself at a peak state. And this is my simple resilient formula for surviving the pandemic. And I'm living proof it works because it's been a year and I'm doing okay. With that, thank you,
So
Sarah.
perfect. So perfect. We're all going to go and give ourselves medals every day. Gopi, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, everyone.